All right, welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the 3 ways for you to start a business and start generating profits in less than 12 months. This is going to be, to me, this is an exciting topic because look, it's all about the money, it's all about profits, right? And so we're not going to just be talking about franchises today. I'm gonna really be focused on giving you the full picture, right? The different ways that you can create profits. And so by the end of this live, you'll be able to no longer feel confused or unsure about what type of business to go with. You'll have clarity on the right path for you. And so there's going to be some things that we talk about tonight that I haven't talked about publicly in terms of businesses, the options, the way to do it. And so I think it's going to be really helpful for you. So you might want to stick around. All right, so let's start diving in. Let's start diving into the 3 ways to start a profitable business and how you can really confidently choose the right path for you specifically, right? For your individual situation. And so the way that I discovered this, by the way, was when you know I was. For those of you who don't know my story, I had started 9 different businesses that failed prior to my franchise business working and generating $470,000 in sales that first year and getting profitable pretty quickly. And so while I'm in the corporate world and banking and the investment world, I'm continuing to try to start all these different businesses and I'm just failing, or not following through or getting confused and overwhelmed. And so it was a struggle for me for a long time. The whole get a business profitable or at least generate enough money to feel comfortable in leaving my job or replacing my income. So, for those of you who that's your situation right now, where you're thinking, hey, like I'd like to create some additional income so I can eventually leave and transition and be a full time entrepreneur. Um, like, or the guy that I talked to, a guy today, a systems administrator who he's like I'm chained. He used the words, I am chained to my desk, and he works from home, but he's like it's just constant, like people calling me all day, needing support, needing help. And I was just asking him how that affected him and his family, and he was saying how his wife and their parents went on a trip to Ireland and he couldn't go because he had to work. And so for those of you who might be in a similar situation, I really hope this helps you today, really figuring out what business that you can go with that will generate kind of the income and the profits you're looking for. um and so again, like as I mentioned, after 9 failed businesses, finally, buying into the franchise, for me that was my path to full-time entrepreneurship, and it opened up the floodgates for me. But your path might be different, and so that's why I really wanted to make this live today, because your path might be different. It may not be a franchise business, and that's okay. Franchising is not for everyone, and although I talk a lot about franchising, I don't want that to just be what you think about, because there are other options out there. But I do think franchising is awesome. So um let's go over way number one. So, and as we're hopping on, please introduce yourself. Why? Don't be rude. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. It's 6:30 p.m. I have been through a full day of meetings today. I just finished our mastermind for our group of franchise owners. So by this point of the day, I'm delirious. So I'm going to do my best to keep it together and to provide you a lot of value. But introduce yourself. Let me know in the comment section what's your name, because through our streaming platform, I can't even see the people that are on. I can just see the amount and where we're streaming to. So let me know your name, where you're. It'll show me your name actually. Let me know what city you're tuning in from, city and state. I'd love to know. And then while you're watching, hit the like button wherever you are, because that'll help the video get more and more views after we end the live. Or let us know if you're watching the replay. Really curious if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay. So drop those comments below. That would be super awesome. And feel free to share this link with someone you think that will benefit from. So way number one to start a profitable business in less than 12 months is to start your own business. Start your own business. Super simple, rocket science, right? But the question is, how does that relate to you, your experience, your background, and what your goals are, right? Is starting a business from scratch the right fit for you? Well, let's talk about who just starting your own business from scratch could be for. Number one, you are resourceful. Like you're just the sort of person that you have that like figure shit out mentality, right? Oh, sorry if you're watching with your family right now. Um, like you just have this I figure things out. Hey Joanna. Is that Joanna? Curious. Um, like the Joanna I know. But if you're super resourceful and you just always figure things out, then maybe starting a business is the right path for you because you just have that mindset of challenges don't stop you. If you're an innovator, if you're someone who if you're someone, hey Joanna, awesome. If you're someone who is constantly innovating, and hey Adam, welcome from Connecticut. Cool. But yeah, if you're an innovator, you're constantly thinking about new ideas and you don't really like to follow systems. Like I have a buddy of mine, I've interviewed him on the podcast, who his businesses do $15 million a year in sales. And he's an innovator. I mean, this guy is like the modern day um Iron Man. You know how like Iron Man had just all sorts of cool tech and stuff like that. And he just always figures stuff out. And so for him, having his own businesses has worked for him. He's thrived with that. Let's see, starting a business is for you, starting a non-franchise business, just your own thing from scratch, from the ground up, is if you have the desire to figure things out on your own. Because when you start your own business from scratch, you literally have to figure everything out. Like the most simple things that you would have never thought of before. Where in a franchise, you don't even have to think about it. Like, oh, what tech provider do I use? What CRM or what software or what this and that? And in most franchise systems, you don't ever have to think about that because you're required to use maybe specific platforms. Or how much insurance should I get? Well, the franchise agreement tells you. So those are things where, or if you want to create the product, you want to design the product, create it, and the menu, whatever the product or service is. So if you have the desire to figure those things out, and not just desire, but you have the time to figure those things out, because you may have the desire to start your own business from scratch and have this really amazing idea, but maybe you just don't have the bandwidth at this moment because you have a job, you have a family, right? And you just don't have the man hours, or woman hours, to be able to create it. So maybe that doesn't work for you. Um, Starting a business from scratch, maybe if you want to limit your startup capital, it could be for you, right? Because you could really bootstrap it and start something up really from the beginning. So this whole online business that I have, and with our zero to profitable franchise system and the coaching and this whole production that we've now built with almost 10 people on my team now, multiple full-time employees, I was able to start this from scratch. I mean, I started recording on my iPhone. Um, then eventually, maybe a year later, I bought a digital camera for like 700 or 800 bucks. And I mean, outside of that, I don't know, some like a few tech stuff here or there, but I think less than $5,000 in, I was able to start and create um, a seven-figure business. So that's one of the benefits of being able to start a business from scratch. Like you can really bootstrap it. Whereas a franchise, you're probably not going to be able to do that because you have the franchise fee that you have to pay. Franchise fee alone will probably be 30, 40, $50,000. Right. And so um, the last thing is that if you're someone that has really good follow through, and so what I found for me, this was a huge issue. I was starting up all kinds of businesses and follow through was not my strong game. I was great at the start. I could start out strong. I could build some momentum. But then when some of the challenges would come up and I would get overwhelmed or not be able to figure out what the solution was, or it was confusing, or I'd get stuck, then there might be a lag time of not finding a solution in the business. And then all of a sudden that kills the momentum. And so what was a business that you were working hard at and things were working, maybe you even started generating revenue, then all of a sudden things died down. And so that's some of the cons, right, of starting a business from scratch too. Like, because I want to talk about some of the pros and cons and all this, is that the low startup cost, although it's a pro, it's an advantage. It's also one of the negatives. Here's why. Think about this. If you're only a couple $1,000s into starting your business, it's super easy to quit. It's so easy to just give up. It's so easy that when adversity strikes, they're like, okay, I'll move on to the next thing. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just give up altogether. Um, that's one of the things I do like about doing a franchise. Because for me personally, after having 9 failed businesses that I had put money into, that I had either let go or just stopped or gave up, uh, the franchise and signing that 10-year franchise agreement and taking a $300,000 line of credit from our home and signing a 10-year lease, those things made me committed. Where even if I wanted to just give up or got bored or whatever it is, that was not an option. And so that's where I do think that like that advantage of low startup costs can actually be negative, right? What do you guys think? I'm curious. What do you think are some of the pros and cons of just starting a business from scratch? So, number 2. So number 1 was starting a business from scratch. Number 2, I'm going to go with the obvious one and then I'll save the next one for number 3. So number 2 is to buy a franchise, right? And so who could a franchise be for, right? Like what type of individual, who is not a franchise for, um, and what are some of the pros and cons of franchising? So, number 1, who is a franchise? Let's talk about who franchising is not for. Um, you don't want to follow rules. You don't want to follow systems. You want to be able to do what you want, when you want, the way you want, and you don't want anyone telling you otherwise, right? If that's the case, franchising is not for you. Number 2 is if um, where do I want to go with this one? I think I'll save that one. But one, if your financials aren't there, so if you have a limited access to resources and capital, then franchising may not be for you. It may be easier to start up your own business from scratch because there aren't net worth requirements. You don't have to go get a big loan, whatever it is. Then franchising may not be for you in that instance. So, for those of you who are just joining, we're talking about number 2, the second way to start a profitable business. The first way was to start a business from scratch. I would suggest going back and watching if you missed the beginning part. But so, who is a franchise for? Now, I'll describe our ideal who our ideal avatar is, our ideal client for like zero to profitable franchise as an example. And the ideal avatar is me. It's who I was. So it's for someone who always wanted to do their own thing, always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always had entrepreneurial tendencies. You started some sort of business before, you've had some sort of side hustle, whether it was mowing lawns or I know Joanna did tax returns. Like you had some sort of side hustle, but you were never able to quite figure out how to make enough money to replace your income. And the idea of trying to figure everything out on your own, a logo, a brand, a product, a service, all the operations, logistics, is overwhelming to you. And you're like, hey, I just know I'm good at following a system. And if someone gave me the system, I think I could execute on it. Then if you're that type of person and you've had some entrepreneurial experience before, you've tried side hustles, and you now know how hard it is, you have the tangible experience of realizing how freaking hard it is to start a business from the ground up, from scratch, and you're thinking, yeah, I don't want to deal with that, then franchising could be for you if that's the case. And then if you have access to capital or resources, so if you have at least a $100,000 net worth or higher, that's really kind of the minimum, um, then franchising could be a good fit for you. And really for there to open up more of the options, you really want to be in the 250, $300,000 net worth range. That's when a lot of the options open up in terms of franchisors uh, qualifications, if that makes sense, right? And so, look, at the end of the day, I also think if you haven't been someone who is not good at following through, then potentially a franchise could benefit you because once you lock yourself down, you sign an agreement, you make a commitment, it's harder for you to hit the eject button, similar to me. That was the benefit that I faced with franchising. So that's the second way for you to be able to start a business. Let's talk about the third. Before I do that, my quick shameless plug. Number one, if you haven't hit the like button yet, please do that. Um, and drop a comment. Let us know how you like it so that the algorithm will pick it up and show it to more people, specifically on YouTube. I know some of you guys are watching on Facebook as well. And yeah, I'd appreciate that. And as you're coming in, let us know if you're watching the replay or if you're live, let us know what city or state that you are tuning in from. So I will drop like a little banner across the screen for those of you um, who maybe are interested in franchising, or maybe you're still trying to figure it out. Is franchising the right path for me? Should I start my own business? Here's the thing. You can't know until you actually talk to franchises that are viable options that meet your criteria and start the conversation with them. Like you can't know if you want to live in a house and buy it until you actually step into the house. If you're standing outside the curb looking at the house, what are the odds that you're going to feel even close to the level of comfort or confidence to say that, oh yeah, that's where I want to move my family into? No. Same thing with trying to figure out if franchising is right for you, because again, it may not be right for you, but you won't know until you get into engaged conversations with franchisors. You learn about their business model, you start talking to franchisees. At that point, you'll have a lot of clarity on, if it's a path you want to pursue. And we have people that go through and they're like, okay, yeah, I don't think it's for me. Great, cool. At least you explored it. You got more information. So if you want to set up a strategy call with my team to kind of talk about your situation and just if franchising could be for you, you can, there's the banner down below, tarekjohnson.com/consulting. All right. Now, the third way to start a profitable business in less than 12 months is, drum roll please, is to buy a business. And so there's a lot of stuff out there right now on the internet. Everyone and their mom's talking about buying businesses and making it appear to be very sexy. Look, at the end of the day, there are the same sort of pros and cons with buying a business, with opening a franchise, with starting your own business. The reality is, newsflash, guys, newsflash, business is hard. Owning a business, starting a business, scaling a business is one of the hardest things you will probably ever do in your entire life. So if you are weak, you shouldn't do it. If you are mentally weak, you shouldn't do it. And I want to weed out those people right away because it's okay. Maybe business is not for everyone, right? And maybe that's mean to say that you're mentally weak. I think that's probably an unfair thing to say. But I'm crazy. I run through the mud and under barbed wire and stuff like that. I do hard stuff on purpose, intentionally. So I'm a psycho. But let's get back let's get back to talking about buying businesses. Um, and here's the analogy before I talk about that real quick. I say that for those of you who are parents, if any of you are parents, let me know in the comments. Like, yep, I have kids, parents. Hey Mario from Toronto. Um, my analogy is that starting a business and growing a business is like parenting. So for all of you that are parents out there right now, we have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So we are in the throes of it right now. And there are days where you're like, what are we doing? What did we get ourselves into? This is the hardest thing that I've ever done, parenting and trying to keep up with the kids. And one's screaming and one's doing this and one's knocking stuff over. Um, it can be so difficult. But at the end of the day, parents, you also know the feeling of you wouldn't trade it for the world. Like that one moment where your kid says, "Mommy or Daddy, I miss you," or they cuddle up with you, or they give you a hug or a kiss, like the amount of love and the euphoria that you experience is totally worth all of the hard times. And so that is what entrepreneurship is like. It's like you will experience some of the hardest, most challenging days of your life, and you will question your sanity of why am I doing this? And then there will be those moments where it's all worth it and you know exactly why you're doing it and you would not trade it for the world. So, Adam, that emoji, that's funny. Yeah. So see, yeah, I mean, Catherine, 4 kids, that's intense. Adam's got 2 girls. So you guys know what it's like. And so buying a business, let's get back to buying a business, right? So there are 2 ways to buy a business, right? This is where it's interesting and this is where we're splitting the path, why I saved it for the end, the last one, which is you can buy an existing business that is a non-franchise business, and then you can buy an existing business that's a franchise. So, and I call them resales. People are like, what's a resale? What's a franchise resale? A resale is just an existing business that someone else is selling. And so let's talk about this for a second. Well, one, before we talk about who buying a resale or existing business could be for, whether you buy franchise or non franchise, here's the most common question that people ask, and especially the skeptics, which is like, well, why would someone sell a business that's making money? And I very legitimate question. My response is, well, it's the same reason you would sell like a perfectly good house that you once loved living in or a perfectly good car. People's situations change. Sometimes you just get sick of living in the same house or you get sick of driving the same car. You just get bored and you're like, all right, I want a new car. People are like that with businesses. They grow a business, they enjoy the chase and the thrill of getting the business up and running and started making money. And then they're like, I'm done. I want to sell it. I want to go start something else again. Sometimes people are retiring. That's a very common one now. Individuals retiring. They've been in the business a long time. They don't want to do it anymore. They're retiring. Or their health is not good and their life circumstances has changed. And so now they want to transition. We actually had someone who just joined our Zero to Profitable franchise system. She had owned some clinics as an entrepreneur and worked a ton. She sold her clinics. She got bought out by a company, got acquired, and then she went back working in the medical field for an employer. Because it was like the prime of her kids and taking them to soccer practice and all those things. And so she had just left her job and she was like, all right, my kids are older now. Like the youngest one's 14. She has 6 kids. I don't know how she does it. You know, we're going crazy with 2 here. But her thing was like, great, I'm ready to put in the work now. I'm ready to put in the effort. And so all right, so getting back on topic here in terms of resale businesses, and we just talked about why people sell an existing business, again, whether franchise or non-franchise. And so who could an existing business be for? here's what I would say. Who is it not for first? If you don't have any experience in leading or managing or hiring teams, I probably would not buy an existing business. Like if you've just worked in the corporate world, but you've never actually had to lead a team, hire people, fire people, I wouldn't do it, because when you buy an existing business, you're you're stepping onto a train that's already going 60 miles per hour. Think about it. It's like you're jumping into a moving car in a sense. And so for if you've never led a team and dealt with all the nuances of that, it would be very hard to just step into that cold turkey without that experience. So I would probably avoid it. Um, unless you feel like you can handle the challenge. But managing people and hiring will be probably the hardest thing in the business you ever do. It'll always be one of your biggest challenges, people. And so who else is not a fit for buying an existing business is if you don't like dealing with other people's problems. And so when we bought a resale as a turnaround, and that's another reason I missed my whole point about that I have experience with all three of these things. Catherine, yes, to answer your question, the video will remain live on will remain on YouTube after we finish the stream. It'll be there for you. You can go on my channel, and I think you can pull up the past lives, and you'll be able to watch it. So yeah, the rest of it will be on there. But so we started a new franchise from scratch, got it profitable in less than 60 days, and then we moved 8 months later to Florida, bought a resale that was a turnaround opportunity. So that store was underperforming and it was like losing money, maybe break even. And so we bought a resale. So I have experience with that. And I will tell you, as soon as we signed and closed escrow on that business, all of those existing problems and the staff members and their drama and equipment that may not have been working well, that all became problems that I now had to solve and own. And so there were days that I would be very upset and pissed dealing with challenges because of what I thought was, I don't want to say an incompetent owner because that's dramatic and mean, but he just wasn't running the business well. And so my store in California was easy from the beginning because I started it from scratch. I set it up with my standards. For those of you who know me personally, or maybe familiar with me, I'm pretty OCD. I may come across like super friendly on here. Like I'm crazy. I'm intense. I'm OCD. I like things done in a very specific way. So my store in California, building it up from scratch, I set the tone from the beginning. And we were on it. I didn't have that opportunity with the resale. And so that is one of the challenges of a resale is you're taking over existing problems. And it just might be too much in your first kind of major business operation. Could be a lot, right? Now, let's talk about who buying an existing location is for. Well, if you're someone like we have some people that join our zero to profitable franchise system that make high six figures or multiple six figures, and they have young kids, and maybe they're the only breadwinner, or maybe you're the only breadwinner, or the idea of it really having the gap of an income if you were to leave full time really becomes tight, and so buying a profitable resale can really help. I mean, it can really help to make that transition to entrepreneurship, even if it doesn't replace all of your income. Obviously, that would be an ideal scenario. But so that's an instance where buying a resale could be great. Now, on the other hand, that is not what we did. We bought a turnaround resale, which is totally different. I would not recommend buying a turnaround resale, meaning an existing business, unless you're going to go into the business full time. I was full time in our store for a year. It took me a year to increase sales by 35%, and it was way harder than starting our store brand new. Because here's the thing. Here's another thing about existing businesses. I feel like I'm laying out all the cons. I'm like talking you guys out of existing businesses where I'm the one always talking about buying resales. But this is the whole idea of these lives is to come on and just give you the facts of like, hey, should I do this or not, right? And so the whole pitch of this live in the emails and all this stuff is like, hey, you're going to feel confident on which way to go. So after me giving you all of the scoop on all of it, you're going to know, right? You're going to have a pretty good idea. But I worked in the business full time for a year, grinding it out, and it was very difficult. So another thing about buying an existing business is that if it's not profitable, you won't be able to finance it with SBA. So if it is a turnaround and it's not the only way that you can finance an existing business with SBA is if the business is profitable, not only if the business is profitable, but that the calculation that the lenders use in underwriting, that the business can support the debt payments, meaning if the business is making $50,000 a year in profit, but it's selling for $500,000 a year or selling for $500,000 and the SBA loan payment is $9,000 a month, $8,000 a month, well, the business doesn't make enough profit to support the debt payments. And so you wouldn't be able to finance that business. And so that's something interesting to really think about. But if you're someone that has experience in managing people, managing a team, maybe you've had a business before, then buying an existing business could be great. It could be really great. Now, should you buy a non-franchise existing business or should you buy a franchise business? Well, it depends. It just goes back to the whole pros and cons about whether you want to be in a franchise system or not. If you buy a non-franchise existing business, probably more of a mom and pop type of business, maybe not. Maybe they have the branding and stuff figured out, but they may not have the operational efficiencies and the SOPs and the manuals, the training guides, the strong brand recognition. Those may not be things that you have. You could step into a mess. Maybe not. Maybe they have things buttoned up. And so one of the benefits of buying an existing franchise business is that you get the best of both worlds. You get to buy resale, and then you get to you get to benefit from a franchise system, right? And get all of that benefit. So those are the three different ways to start a business and profit in less than 12 months. There's something I missed, ladies and gentlemen, that I forgot to tell you that I meant to tell you. On number 2, on if you start a franchise, is that if you want to increase your likelihood of being profitable in less than 12 months, depends on when you're counting the 12 months from. Are you counting the 12 months from when you sign your franchise agreement? Or are you counting the 12 months from when you actually open? Here's why I asked this question, and it's an important distinction. If you are buying a franchise that requires you to have a retail location, realistically, you won't open for between 6 months to a year from signing your franchise agreement. In our instance, it was 2.5 years because the shopping center wasn't even built when we signed our lease at a dirt lot. But it can take a while to find the location, negotiate the lease. Then you got to get the general contractor bids. Then you got to do the build outs. You're easily 9 months later. So if you're looking for something that like, hey, I want to get up and running as quickly as possible, then you're going to want to do a service-based franchise. You're going to want to do something that's a service where you can hit the ground running and you don't have to wait for a construction build out or any of those things. And so that's a key distinction that I want to let you know. But let me know in the comments as you watch this, hey, which route are you leaning towards? Number 1, starting your own business from scratch. Number 2, buying a franchise business, or number three, buying an existing business? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. And again, if you would like help in your process of finding the right franchise, help with the due diligence, help with the deciding, and then help with the getting profitable, that is exactly what we do in our zero to profitable franchise system. We have over 23 video client reviews and testimonials from people that have been through our system, everyday people just like you. So you can check those out. They're on our website. And feel free to schedule a strategy call with my team. Talking about people and hiring, we are in between people right now. One of our people left. And so I'm one of the individuals doing some of these strategy calls now. So you might just have the unfortunate luck of landing me on one of these strategy calls. Might be someone on my team though. So, all right, y'all. You have a great night. I hope you enjoyed it and it was helpful. And take care.